So I wanted to go on a little bit of a rant here, talking about AI, the future, and what are some concerns and some things to think about with the potential impacts of AI and robots in the very near future. So I I've been paying attention to this. I've made some predictions. Some of them I think are very readily going to happen. One, just a simple kind of goofy, fun, and um, understanding of what the potentials of AI would achieve is, for example, the day will quickly be here when you want to watch one of your favorite movies. Let's say you love Braveheart, and you want to watch that movie, but you don't want Mel Gibson to be in the movie. So you decide of my list of actors that I like, maybe you want Keanu Reeves to play that part. I don't think that works, but you could do it. Okay, you could do that. You'd be able to place him in the movie. He would replace him, um, and maybe it would take some time to render it. Maybe your movie would be ready within 5 hours or something. Okay, I think that will be able to happen pretty soon. Okay, I'd made that prediction years and years ago. You actually, whenever you had VR headsets coming out when that was popular, thinking that's what's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see. Music, that's already happening today. If you want Johnny Cash to sing a New Kids on the Block song or something from NSYNC, you can do that today. You can do that. And some of them sound not so good. Some of them sound actually pretty believable. But yeah, the future of that. So that's just entertainment, right? But what about work? What about your job? What's the security of your particular field of work? This is where I think we have to think about the future. And not just as it relates to you, but you got to think about your kids. You got to think of your grandkids. We do not live in the same world that we did when we were growing up. Okay? And the unique challenges that are going to happen, and economically, um, the interests of people being able to perform a task and having fulfillment. Vocation is going to be something that, and already is today, a big concern. What do we do from here, and how do we navigate this? As it stands today, my opinion on AI is that it can be a very useful tool. You can have a rapid rate of receiving information that you need. So I wanted to give you like a brief example of how I could see it being useful. And you could disagree with me, you could debate it, whatever. That's just an example. My family started a body shop in 1963. And in those days, if you wanted to write an estimate, it's all just pen and paper, okay, or pencil and paper. And a lot of that's going to require manual time of looking up a part if you need to replace that. Okay, you got to look up the parts and what they cost, and you may have to make phone calls. So what you're looking at is maybe some parts, a book that has part pricing in it. But early on, that's not really what you're going to have. You're going to probably have to call a dealership and look for part pricing. You're talking people who've been in the industry for a longer period of time. Okay, and then you get to the days where you have your Mitchell books, or you have your books that provide you a breakdown of what it's going to cost. If you want to replace a hood, here's the book time. So this is a standardized time about how long it should take you to replace a hood. And here you can have the paint times figured in as well, and materials. There are all these things you have to add to write in your estimate to make it accurate so that the insurance or the person knows what they have to pay. Now, later on, you have the introduction, as it is today, of computers, which have made it much easier. So that now I have a diagram of this particular vehicle broken down by its VIN number, and I can click on the hood and decide I want to replace that. Okay, I want to paint, I want to blend the fender, whatever needs to be done. Okay, and these are able to automatically generate prices based upon what's available. Maybe be able to even select a particular vendor that you have, depending on what programs you're using. So you can see how that's changed and developed and made things much more. Um, they've sped up the process. Okay, they've sped up the process in which an estimate is written. It's making them make them much more accurate, and that's been helpful. Now, where I could see AI coming in the future is that in the auto body world, whether it would be like through your phone or maybe larger companies would be able to afford like a booth that you would pull into that has a bunch of cameras that even that move around, is that you could just simply scan the vehicle and making sure everything's covered, you so that it can see and properly um, give an estimate of what needs to be replaced. It would see the damage and be able to produce an estimate based upon what it can see, and would probably be pretty accurate. So that the job of the estimator has radically changed from somebody who had a pen and paper, being busy with that work, to somebody who has to sit down at a computer, which is work, to make sure they've got all the pictures they need. They've viewed the vehicle up and down. They've checked this and that, and they could make sure they have everything that's necessary in order to give an accurate estimate. To where potentially most of that could be done by either, again, a user like a human moving their phone around to make sure it's done, maybe even some goggles, or a booth that would just be surrounded, that has a bunch of cameras that move around and could check everything. Okay. Now, when it comes to trades in particular, we already have 3D printed homes that are happening. Okay, we have robots that can drywall. Did you know that? We have robots that can do drywalling, that can lay tile. These things are already here, and are they popular yet? I don't think so. Some people estimate, that the ability for robots with AI to replace people in trades is probably 10 to 20 years out. I don't know. I would say it's probably more likely that it's 50 years or something like that. Now, again, AI is continuing to grow, and the production of robots and interest and investments in that are exponentially growing. Okay? Whether we like it or not, that's in our future. That is going to be the future. So what do we do? How do you protect your field of work? How do you make sure that you're not replaced? Now, the tradesmen that I know, we're stubborn people, okay? We're pretty stubborn. We're not just going to easily roll over and let ourselves be replaced by machines, okay? It's just not going to happen. But that doesn't really matter if there are no preventative steps for that to happen and that are set up in the first place, okay? You could fight it as much as you want. There will be other people out there who want to capitalize on that. They will create businesses, they will be large, they will be franchised, and they could potentially put you out of work. Or get it to where your work, this is an idea too, that craftsmen and tradesmen will be much more specialized in their field, so that you're just going to be a luxury service to rich people, okay? They're the only ones that will be able to afford you, so you'll have even higher pay because they want that human touch. They don't want a robot; they want humans to do it. They're the ones that can afford that. That's an idea as well. That could be the future. But I think that today, as we still have not reached that yet, and it's very close. So when it comes to like your blue collar versus white collar jobs, think about somebody like who is a coder. They code for a living. That's their job. It is uh, I I could probably brush up on this, but the last I've known about the impacts of AI in coding is that you're not very far from being just obsolete. Like if you're a person who is um, coding and you've studied and you've given your time to that, you're not far off from just being completely replaced. Now, for somebody that's creative and knows how to prompt AI to get it what to do what they want. So if you're a person who is creative, you had this idea, a program you want it to produce, you can simply type it up or speak to it what you want it to do, and if you know how to prompt AI to give you those results, you'll still be able to have a job. Okay, you're going to have work to do, but as far as for the actual process of coding itself, um, I the estimates, if I can remember, I mean, some people are concerned about it being just within 5 years, that you could could seriously just be obsolete. You don't have a job anymore. That job is just done by AI, among other things. There are a lot of people that have desk jobs, computer-based jobs that could more easily be replaced at a faster rate. And that's simply because it's not interacting with the physical world. Whereas if you're in construction, you know how it is. You have the job site. Every job site has its own unique circumstances and difficulties, and there are things you have to work around. The progression of AI to enter into those fields is going to be much later because it has to understand much more about that. Not only that, robots have to be built to perform those specific tasks, and that's going to take time. And again, this is where somebody, if you're like an electrician, you're a plumber, whatever it might be, don't think that you're exempt, okay? Um, because though you know the specific things that your job requires, and the difficulty and the uniqueness of that, and just the dexterity that you have to have, the knowledge, which if we're smart enough, we'll realize now knowledge part of that, the AI being given the information from all of the I mean, think about YouTube videos that are out there. How many times have you looked up a YouTube video on how to do X, Y, or Z? Okay, well, all of this information is already available for AI to achieve, to receive, and to utilize. Putting those things into fingers that actually work and can perform those tasks is something that will take time. But don't just think in that. Okay, don't just think, well, it can't plumb a house yet. That's where I think we're not seeing the bigger picture, because it doesn't have to be the case that AI and robots will learn how to do today's jobs. They will replace them by making the product fit for robots. Okay, so that a schematic or a blueprint could be made up by a robot. Somebody gives it the information. Here's what I want. Okay, here's where I want this and this and this. And now the blueprint is able to be made, and your houses will be much different. Think of them as like Lego blocks being able to be put. And this could even be done by the AI itself, because they could see what's needed. They have a facility that produces all the material, whether it's using mills or whatever, making the cuts it needs, and now it's produced what it needs so that it can take it to the job site and put it together, so that as you're building it, your plumbing and your electrical are being connected as it's built. Okay, so that if a repair is needed, an AI robot could come in there, make the changes, or replace a part that it needs, a part of the house. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of speculating on that, but you've got to think about that's the potential of just completely changing the way homes are built. Not simply, well, it's not going to be able to come to this job site that I'm at, or maybe you're involved in building skyscrapers. Okay, like there are particular fields that it's going to take much longer, or there's going to be such a specialized field that you're probably safe at least for generations to come. But if things are just built differently, then you are out of a job other than maintaining homes that are already built, or people who can afford or desire a home that is built by people. So yeah, housing prices could be dropping very rapidly if a robot's able to build a house within a week that's functional, and you've got your construction crew that could build a house in the old way that will be much different and take longer, usually. So that's something to consider. So what's the road ahead? There are jobs that robots cannot do. Okay, there are jobs that they simply cannot do. AI cannot be a sheriff, cannot be a lawyer, it cannot be a pharmacist, it cannot be a physician. Legally, they cannot do those jobs. They cannot be the president of the United States or a congressman because the law prevents them from that. Okay? So, this is where we have to think. Like, what is the future and what do we want to achieve? What do we want to protect? What do we want to preserve? And what are the right uses of this technology? Do we want to live in a world where most of the jobs that we have today are just completely gone and you're just left with people who are the creative types? Not everybody is creative. Not everybody has that that spark of creativity within them to be able to do or survive in an economy like that. But again, there are laws that are in place that prevent a robot because it has to be a person or a natural person to be a congressman. Okay, that job cannot be done by a robot. But you can use AI to assist you if you need to look up some laws or you need to look up a case. As if you're a judge, you can ask the AI to bring up all relevant cases in the past, been judged by the Supreme Court on a particular case that you're on, that you're, whether you're a lawyer or whatever that would be. So it could be useful, but the job of the lawyer has to be done, or a pharmacist has to be done legally by a person. So as you're thinking ahead and thinking about yourself, you're thinking about your children or your grandchildren. I think today is the time to think about what do we want the future to look like, and knowing that it is laws. It's laws that will protect that. Okay, and if you're somebody that's just very gleefully accepting the dramatic change in the world that AI and robots that are AI powered or directed are going to have on the world, I don't think you've really considered the broader implications of that. The lack of purpose for people who are just everything's done for you by robots. I mean, you can think about Wall-E if you want. I mean, there's a little bit of I think some truth into that. Like, what's the purpose? You just to be satiated with entertainment and fed. You will lack purpose. Your dopamine hits from your scrolling. They wear off after a while. That's why if you're doom scrolling, you kind of get bored after a while. It wears off. So you have to have fulfillment, and your work and your vocation are often the thing that's going to bring that to you, with your family and your community. And there's another side of this. Maybe I could, if anybody's interested, give me a like or a thumbs up or a comment. But there are other implications of how trustworthy the internet will be in the very near future with AI and videos that are being introduced, and people see a video and they think it's real, and it's not. Now, I personally have a pretty quick eye in recognizing those things. I think that's an ear, I would say an ear as well. I think that's involved from my just artistic background and being involved with music and making music and sitting down and listening and studying music so that if you pay attention to certain inflections and intonations, you can maybe not even be able to put words to why you can recognize this is off. There's something off here. Or visually, if somebody's been involved with VFX, visual effects, and there are some things that they will quickly notice, like this is AI. Okay, but I'm not going to say that I'm foolish. I'm not foolish enough to say that quickly that will not be the case. Quickly, it's very possible that a clip could be shared about some celebrity doing something, and that can spread, and now everybody's believing this about a certain person, and it was just an AI video. But anyway, there are implications to that that I think would lead to us to being much more localized in our trust, but different discussion. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Are you concerned about your particular field of work being replaced? Have you really thought about it? Are you a bit too maybe arrogant or prideful in the idea that, well, my work can't be replaced? I don't know that if you're that type of person, I don't know that you've really looked into what's being done. I don't know that you've really looked into it and what things are actually able to be achieved today, currently. Very rapidly, it's growing, and it will continue to be very rapid. And again, my estimates, I maybe 50 years, that trades would be heavily impacted, starting even today. But there are very specialized fields that are already out there, and there's a lot of things that have to be covered and learned, and information has to be given. But again, I think that the people, whether you're blue collar or white collar, do you want your job to just be replaced by some robot or some computer that can do your work? Does that sound fulfilling to you? It doesn't to me. It doesn't to me. And most of the people that I know would say the same. But whether we want these things or not, they are coming. They are here. And it's time to really ponder, to think about what do we want the future to be. So, thank you. Have a blessed day.